Hey guys, welcome back to What the Fat. Today we have a very special podcast, one that we're gearing up for one of my favorite holidays, right? Thanksgiving. I have friends and family that are going to be over next week for Thanksgiving, and I'm just super excited about it. It's one of my favorite times of the year. Someone asked me recently about my favorite holiday, and by far it is Thanksgiving. Right? Because it's full of gratitude. You are beyond thankful, not only for what's on your plate, but the people you're with, and just the environment itself is incredible. And two, it's usually you're with friends and family, right? It's my favorite time of the year, no doubt about it. And so I'm coming to you today with this micro podcast with a very important one, and one that I've been getting a lot of messages about because we're gearing up towards the end of a decade, right? We're about to see a new decade. The new year's coming, and a lot of people might not have had like a great year, right? They're frustrated. They didn't hit their goals financially, or relationship wise, or even body composition wise, and they're frustrated. And they're what I call knocked off the horse, right? And so I want to give a quick little story about getting knocked off the horse and my thoughts of like getting back up on the horse, because I think it's a very important concept that often gets overlooked, and something that hopefully this can inspire you. If you're off the horse, get back up, keep going. Or if you're on your horse, keep riding it. And if you fall off, which you will, that's virtually guaranteed, when you fall off, understand this and take this mindset approach of how important it is to get back up on the horse and keep going. So I want to tell a story because something big recently happened in my life, and it was something that was unexpected and took me back a little bit. And it was something that weighed me down, and something that still I'm going to have to live with and really reframe. And I talk a lot about perspective. It's something I'm going to have to work on. But I had a very good friend when I was younger, in middle school and growing up into high school, and he just wasn't dealt a great set of cards. When we were young, we played football together. His father overdosed. I think we were in about third grade when that happened. My dad, who was a police officer at the time, is the one who actually found him, and so that was pretty brutal to deal with at the time. Fast forward 10 years later, his mom did the same thing. And so him and his sister grew up in a challenging environment, right? Sometimes we talk about like you play with the hand you're dealt. They weren't dealt a very good hand. Some people are dealt aces. They weren't. They were put in a very difficult situation, and his sister, bless her heart, is doing amazing stuff, and I'm beyond supportive of her and everything she's doing. And she took my friend, his name is CJ, took him out of the environment and said, we're going to move away. And they ended up moving to Indianapolis just to get away, because she's like, what, we've had a lot of stuff happen here with our parents. We want to get away. And so they went away. They both ended up getting jobs, and things were rolling along. And about 6 months ago, I get a random message from CJ, and I haven't talked to him in years, literally since high school. I probably haven't kept in touch, and we haven't chatted. And he reached out asking for money. He's like, hey, Rye, I follow you all the time. It seems like things are going well. Like, I'm really in this bind. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I really just need to go out and get food. And I just had this like gut-wrenching feeling about it. And I was like, man, I was like, one, I haven't talked to you in forever. But I'm like, anyone that I care about in my life, like I'm always going to figure out a way to support them. So I was like, hey, man, you know what? You send me receipts for you if you really need food. But please do me a favor. Promise me that you're going to be utilizing this for food. He's like, I promise. He sent me receipts of food. And after I sent him some money to go get stuff. And I was like, hey, man, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Like, make sure things are all right. But that's like where I left it at, right? Like I never went further. I posted something about this recently, but like I never really asked him like, hey, how are you? Like, how are you doing? I never got on a phone call with him. I never texted him beyond that. And it's something that I'll probably live with and regret not doing for the rest of my life. Because fast forward to a couple weeks ago, CJ overdosed. And I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of my life, knowing that one, not only did I not reach out and ask him how he was, but two, I'm going to have to live with the fact of the matter is like I might have contributed to that. Like the extra money that I gave him might have been that money that like purchased that one dose that like overdid it for him. You know what I mean? And like that's not a good way. That's not a good mindset to be in. But it's the reality of the situation, right? And I always like to be vulnerable and straight and honest and transparent with you guys. But like that's something that I've been battling for the last couple of weeks of like dealing with that and figuring out like how to get back up on my horse, right? Because there are people who reach out all the time, friends, family, that are in really difficult spots, and you never want to create that callous or that aspect of like you don't want to give. This is the most giving time of the season, and I'll talk about that later on, some of the initiatives that like I have a tradition of doing every December, and our team has a tradition of doing every December, and I don't want that to ruin that, right? So there's this, you want to prevent this callous, but you're living with this, I wouldn't say guilt and regret, but it's top of mind that what if I would have done this? And I've mentioned this before on the podcast. Like you never want to have the end of your journey be sitting there and go, what if? Like what if I would have taken that new job, or what if I would have done this? Like just go do it, right? And I've talked about like you can't live in what ifs, and I still to this day think about that. So but it's difficult, right? You need to reframe. You need to create perspective, and when you fall off that horse, you need to really, really get in deep and think about that perspective, because you can't let that one fall break you, right? Like I can't let the concept of what if I would have reached out to him and really had a deeper conversation eat me up for the rest of my life. The only thing I can do is learn from that, right? That's the most important piece is like now anytime I reach out to friends or family, like I'm learning from that. Like you need to be able to get back up on your horse. And a good friend of mine and a mentor of mine, his name's Terry LaCour, has something business-wise that he implements, but it's something that I think everyone can apply to everyday life. And that is when I asked him, I said, hey man, like what's the secret? Like what allows you to be so successful and fulfilled in what you do? And he goes, it's very simple. We have one rule at my company. His company's been around. They've done hundreds of millions of dollars in business. And he said, I have one very simple rule. It's that we won't make the same mistake twice. And he goes, because a lot of times people go, oh, we won't make mistakes. He goes, that's just not true. We're going to make mistakes. And I tell my entire team that, and I regurgitate this and relay this to my team now. And I relay it to myself internally in life is like, you're going to make mistakes. It was a mistake on my part for not reaching out to him. It wasn't a mistake helping him out and sending him money. I thoroughly believe that wasn't a mistake whatsoever. It was a mistake that I didn't reach out and ask truly how he was or get on a phone call or have a deeper conversation with him. That was a mistake. Now, it's up to me to learn from that. I can never make that same mistake again, right? When someone reaches out directly or indirectly for help, like I need to dig deeper and I need to make the time to be able to dig deeper. And I thought that was a very powerful thing and something that I wanted to share with you guys, because at the end of the day, that's truly what matters. Like I love his concept of like, we're all going to make mistakes, whether that's financially, whether that's relationship wise, whether that's with a friend or family member, whether that's in our goals, like whatever it may be, we're all going to make mistakes. It's not making that same mistake twice. That is the key. Never make the same mistake twice. And so that comes back to like, you're going to fall off the horse. When you make a mistake, you technically fall off your horse, but it's up to you to get back on and never fall off for that same reason, right? So it's like anything in life. It's going to happen. It's your ability to learn from that is what's going to make the difference. And so I wanted to share that with you guys because it's a very personal story for me and something that I just need to get off my chest. And this is going to help me by telling you and having this conversation with the tens of thousands of people who listen to this every single week, is having that open conversation, being vulnerable and having that. But we're all going through something, right? We're all going through a time where, whether it's in the past throughout this year or currently you're off your horse, it's up to you to get back on. And understand, like, there's going to be things that are going to knock you off. There's going to be challenges, probably even before the end of this year, that are going to knock you off that horse. It's one, are you able to learn from that? And two, are you willing to get back up on that horse? Those are the keys. And so I highly encourage you to get back up on the horse and keep going, right? Because I want to finish it with this, and I took some notes to make sure I didn't forget to say this, is whether you've had a really, really shitty year or whether you've had an amazing year, understand this simple concept. You had a year, right? You have today. You have tomorrow, right? When you wake up tomorrow, it's a brand new day. Next year isn't granted for everyone, right? Tomorrow isn't granted for everyone. It's an opportunity. It's a gift. So put all that in the past, learn from it, and get back up on your horse. And so for me, one of the ways that I do that is, one, I'm about to be surrounded by the most amazing people in my life, my friends and family, on my favorite holiday of all time. So that's going to be a reinforcement for me. But also, as you'll hear me talk a lot more about on social media, is like December is one of my favorite months out of the entire year, because I talk a lot about making positivity louder, right? But I think it's important for us throughout the month of December is to make giving louder. And I don't think it needs to be financially. I think a lot of times people get a little anxious or irritated when they hear the word, oh, you have to give more. But you have to understand that there's multiple ways to give. You can give by giving a hug. You can give by giving a smile. You can give by doing a nice gesture that's beyond financial. Of course, you can help financially. If you really think about it, we're in a heck of a lot better place financially than most people are in the world, right? I have a story that I'll tell when the time's right, with a kid that I help support in Africa. His name's Fode. But that'll be an entire episode or entire podcast. But just seeing the conditions he lives in, like having a bed, right? Having the ability to have a camera to record, a headset to record, a shirt to wear. Like, those are things we often overlook that most people would love to have. And this time especially, like as we gear up for Thanksgiving, as we gear up for December and the holidays and the new year, I'm going to have this big thing, so stay tuned for it, where I'll be giving away stuff to everyone that's listening to this. I'll be giving away stuff to people on social media, but we'll also be encouraging people to go out and give back to your community. It's up to us to make giving louder. And I promise you, whether you're knocked off your horse or whether you're on it riding, giving, there's power in giving, right? I talk about it all the time. Success without fulfillment is ultimate failure. Fulfillment comes from being able to take something that you have and be able to pay it forward, to give it to other people. And I don't want us to lose sight of that. And it's one of the most important pieces as we wrap up this year, as we wrap up this decade, as we go into Thanksgiving with our friends and family, as we go into the holidays and really pay it forward. I just don't want us to lose sight of that. So stay tuned for more information on Make Giving Louder, and understand this, guys. Whether you're knocked off your horse, whether you're on your horse, keep going. Get back up, keep going, learn from your mistakes, and never make the same mistake twice. It's our duty. It's up to us to be able to learn from that and make positivity louder, keep going, and go forth and do great things. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, make positivity louder. Stay tuned for the Make Giving Louder challenge. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.